Good morning, Johanna. How are you?
I'm really good. How are you, Liam?
Well, I'm good, but you're also lying because you're sniffling there.
I know I've got hay fever. I don't know what's been going on this year. I sort of like usually by the time the tree season's finished, I usually clear up. But this year I've been suffering a bit again. But
Right.
nobody wants to hear about my hay fever problems, do they? So,
No.
so it's I've just realised because you said before we started recording this that we haven't done our own podcast since March
I
because
know,
we've had
isn't that
lots of
shocking?
guests.
We have had lots of guests and we're very, very busy. But yes, the last one we did was where we introduced that we were going to do What Moves Us Express. And the one before that was when we were on the train back from Milton Keynes. Do you remember when we used to get trains together?
Oh God.
Do you
When
remember?
was that? Was that the last train we got together?
Yeah, probably. I mean, we did
So
see each other last week for a lovely lunch in Brighton.
so I've been getting local trains since we've been allowed to get on trains again. But you've been travelling quite a bit, haven't you?
I have. I went to the south of France on the train before the restrictions came in, before the self isolation came in. Went on a family holiday to the south of France via train, not the direct train because that had been cancelled for Corona, but the train to Paris. 14 of us. It was a bit like Home Alone, run through the airport, running through the train to get to the TGV. But we did it, and I think I've hopefully convinced more people to get a train on holiday. Yeah.
No. Now, you see, the problem I'm having with trends, and I think it's quite interesting because there was two stories on the news this morning as well about restoring confidence back, or not even really restoring confidence back in travelling by train. And I was watching Good Morning Britain because I do love a bit of Piers, but Piers is still on holiday. But they were at London Bridge this morning and they were reporting on two stories, of which one was the annual fares increase,
Yeah.
which has been reported is that the recommendation is for 1%, because as you know it goes in line with RPI. And the second one was a story from Transport Focus saying that there should be a fares freeze or they should be reducing fares.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite interesting because LNER have already done that. They're doing a special offer at the moment till the 3rd of September, but there are no fares available.
I know, I found that funny.
um,
Apparently,
I've been trying to book two rail journeys, both on LNER, one to go and see a friend in Newcastle, and I think the best way I found to do it is actually to book on Grand Central to York and then change at York onto a TPE.
right.
So I can get to Newcastle but we were hoping to do it in a day, but these sorts of things that you used to do in a day are just more or less impossible now. And
Right.
the other one is going to Pitlochry on the 7th of September.
I'm really
And
sorry,
there
God.
are no trains available from the 4th of September. There is nothing available to book. And it's not because they're not there, it's because they haven't put them into the system. And I was sort of like having a Twitter debate with LNER Control a couple of days ago, and they're like, "Oh well, we're holding some back. We're not." And I was just like, "But what happened to T-12, where the reservations used to go into the system 12 weeks in advance?" And nobody is answering that question. I mean, we're saying about building confidence. I don't think it's about building confidence. I think it's just being able to start living our lives, isn't it? Being able to do things.
Yes. Well, so you were talking about September. We're now on what, August 19th.
So it's only 2 weeks away. I mean, like, you don't plan a holiday just 2 weeks before, do you? I've been trying to plan this holiday for the past 2 months. We've decided not to go to Pitlochry in the end
Well, I'm
because
going the week after you were planning to go, but I'm going on the sleeper train, which sells tickets a long time in advance. But
yeah,
you make a good
we're
point.
poor, so we can't afford sleeper trains.
That's because you have a gargantuan mansion in Brighton.
I wish.
um, but we are doing the sleeper train, and I'm doing the sleeper train because I'm paying, yes, more than I would have on a daytime train, but it was available and it was convenient to book, so I booked it. And I think
See,
that's the message that I would give is if you make this stuff available and convenient, people will just book it.
Yeah, I mean, that is the thing, isn't it? Is that we've just decided not to take the trip. And I think when I was trying to explain to LNER, various people at LNER, why I wasn't taking the risk on waiting for the trains to be released,
Yeah.
it was because we had to, yesterday was the last day that we could not have to, that we could cancel our accommodation
Yeah.
without having to forfeit the whole payment.
Yes. Well, let's not turn this into an anti-LNER podcast.
No, I didn't. I didn't mean. It's. I think what it is I think. I don't know. I like. It's not meant to be against LNR because it's not just them. I think what I thought was quite interesting is that not just about the fares and that. I think it's all, yeah. Because also there was another story on my favourite breakfast program this morning as well, as about just how messages are confusing and that. And I think there is a confusion because I said, you've been traveling a lot and I've been traveling on local trains, and it's almost like a two-tier system has been created, is that I can still go down to my local station, buy a ticket and walk on a train, and they have been busy. The
Yes.
trains I've got on they're just for local journeys, people doing, local stuff, they're shopping, going to see friends, family. They're not sort of like the commuting journeys, people going out for the day because obviously the weather's been nice and that, and they've been busy. But we've just been walking up and buying tickets just as we would normally.
Yes.
So why is it that, and I know half the answer, because obviously Thameslink and Southern Trains and that, they don't run reservation systems, and their trains are not designed to run reservation systems. So what is the difference? This is my question. What is the difference between a train that can accept reservation systems and a train that can't?
What do you mean?
Just in terms of, why can I walk up onto one just because it can't do it?
Yeah.
And I can't walk up onto the other just because it can. That's a nonsensical risk assessment.
Again, you're talking like a person, a consumer, not a.
I know, but I am a consumer.
I know, but
I am, and this is sometimes, I think this is one of the things that annoys me about anybody who works in any industry, is they talk about people who use services and products as other people. We're all consumers in some way or another.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm just saying that you're talking like a consumer.
Because the other question I'd really like to know under all of this as well, is apart from like you said, I'm talking like a consumer rather than a rail person, because I like to think of myself as being a voice of the customer rather than just a voice of an operator and somebody who understands this stuff.
Yes.
But are they stopping staff travel?
Don't know.
Because if you're a member of staff and you travel on a free ticket on your boxes or whatever, you don't reserve on the train. So are they allowed to just walk up onto these trains? And I've seen frequently, because I'm friends with lots of rail people on Facebook and that, who are all traveling on there using their boxes on train services. Are they reserving? I expect not. So not only have you got a system that is not meeting customer need, but you've got all different systems working amongst each other. And I think it's all very well talking about we've got to get people traveling again and restoring services and that, but you've got to get your system sorted out.
I mean, it is only one operator that's doing reservation only.
Is it? So I could have gone up the West Coast.
You could, and you could probably do that as a test.
I have to say, I never ever think about going up the West Coast.
Well, they have direct trains to Edinburgh, at least.
I know they do, but I don't know why. I just don't think about it.
Well, you could go, and we could do a review, and we could do the review on the catering on one and the catering on the other one. Full experience, either way. We might not do the 4.5 hour podcast, though. But yes, I have been going out and about for the last month because I've had to do two in-person meetings, one in Cardiff and one in Bristol. And I saw you in Brighton. I was very impressed with the amount of people who are complying with the face masks. And now it's just a thing, you just wear them. I've not seen much not seen many people not wearing them, which I think is good. Services have been busy in the southeast. Every intercity train I've taken has been deserted. But then I guess if you are a government trying to control the spread of an infection, you're probably fine with people traveling locally, but it is people moving around the country that's probably your
People moving around the country is problematic. I can see that.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting because obviously RSSB had that report come out last week as well, which also drawed on international research, which shows that there is no evidence that says that people are catching it on being on a train for a long time. You're right, they might be bringing it with them in other places, but there's no evidence that people are catching on trains. But I just think there could be a better way of managing this. I mean, we're supposed to be such clever people. We can sort this out.
My question comes from
and I was kind of thinking, that I was working as on a station during Hatfield, and I know you can't compare Hatfield to this, but there were problems that were managed, and their premise was to get people traveling. It wasn't, the premise was actually we're scared and we don't want people traveling. It was the risk assessment was done, and it then got people traveling again in the safest way possible. Maybe that's what the angle needs to be. It doesn't need to be about restricting people. It needs to be, how can we safely transport people to do the journeys they need? And it doesn't need, I don't think it necessarily needs to be huge technological solutions.
Okay.
Rant over. What else have we been up to?
No, sorry, it's not a rant. It's you've just used the word journeys they need to make. Is you're already judging whether people should be traveling or not. You're not providing a service and people can choose to take it or not. The point of during this whole lockdown was that it was essential journeys only. And that message still has not been removed from the public, because they still have "can you travel another way" and a picture of a car at lots of train stations.
But you see, that's laziness.
Whether it's laziness or not,
right. See, because that's laziness and lack of attention to detail, because that has not actually been a message since the 4th of July.
Okay, but then
because all of that essential travel and do you really need to travel is really up, because in my view, and and I think people know I am anti-car, is that if your journey is not essential by public transport, then it should also be non-essential by car.
Right.
That's my view. But when I say I'm talking about I'm not talking about companies making the decision on need and wants and stuff like that. I think we should all be why should somebody may be making that decision on whether my journey is essential or not?
Yeah.
Because that's for me to take personal responsibility and accountability for my actions and decide whether, because because there's all sorts of stuff going around. I think yesterday there was reports about how the lockdown has impacted in all sorts of ways on people's mental health.
Yeah.
Well, actually, getting out and about and changing scene and that is known to improve your mental health. Going on holiday, undertaking leisure activities, seeing friends, is all known to be positive for your mental health. So this isn't just about the economy, it's about our well-being.
Yes, it is. So we are we're on 19th of August, and we're supposed to be getting back to work. Sorry, people are being encouraged. Well, they can already go back to the office, but there is a strong desire to get people to go back to offices from, I think, the 7th of September, which is a Monday. And I know that some rail companies are increasing their timetable from the 4th of September to like 90% of normal. So at that point, if you are an operator at restricted capacity on your train, what will you do to work out who should get on your train?
Well,
who's allowed to get on your train if people are being told that they should be going into city centre offices?
I don't think they should be restricting it.
Well, no, but
I think, I mean, I think to a certain extent, people should be taking responsibility of what is right for them.
yes, I know, but these people can't take that decision because
I know they can't, but I think the industry has to stop people restricting to travel, and people need to make their own decisions. Because I think if people are wearing masks and, you know, with the additional cleaning and things like that on, otherwise, you know, it's going to, I mean, like, the fact is, if we don't start getting back to pre-COVID operations and travelling, it's going to destroy the rail industry. That is the fact. I mean, like, government is still ploughing on with HS2, East West Rail, other, you know, Crossrail, you know, schemes, you know, all these beaching, you know, bringing back beaching cuts, that. But the hard reality is that if people don't start travelling again, even if it just goes up to 60-70% of pre-COVID levels, there are going to be some hard choices being made, and there's going to be some trade-offs, and I don't know whether that's going to, and I think it will become actually a zero-sum game, you know, and so some of the new schemes might go ahead as part of the levelling up agenda, but if people aren't travelling on other lines, then there could be closures at the same time. Because there are a lot of lines out there that currently, and even pre-COVID, that didn't get huge amounts of numbers and probably weren't financially viable. And it'll be those lines that will go that were not financially viable before this. So I think we do have to start using it or losing it. And I think it's not just, you know, and it's not just bad for the travelling public, but it's also bad for the people who work in it, because I think in the industry, because I think people who work in rail think that they'll be protected against some of this hardship that's coming our way if we don't get the bounce back, and they won't be. I mean, like, have you been on a train where they've checked your ticket?
No.
So if you think of all those fights that have been going on with the second person on the train, well, that second person on the train, despite having their safety responsibilities removed, are not doing anything else on that train at the moment. So why would you continue to have them? Particularly if your cost, you're not getting the revenue and you need to reduce cost. Yeah, and I think that's the hard reality, is that to save jobs, to get people, you know, to get the economy going, we have to return to some sort of semblance of, and I hate to use this word, normality, or you're developing the new world, rather than just sitting on it and hoping something will turn up.
Right. Well, as we always say, the rail industry is an economic catalyst, so we need to make sure that the rail industry fulfills its part.
Yes, and more people will be employed in public transport than in manufacturing cars in this country. I don't know what the numbers are, but whole towns rely on people being employed in public transport. And yeah, I mean, and if you refer back to our podcast that we did last year on inequality, I mean, like, you need public transport to level up anywhere.
Yeah, because people have to get to opportunity.
Absolutely.
Right.
And you're preventing that. So we need to rebuild it back up again, and we need to do it fast and restore that confidence, because it is not unsafe.
No, it's not. It is, yeah. We will do what we can. I'm doing what I can by travelling, obviously.
I've not been anywhere beyond the local area of Brighton.
Well, do your bit. Was it?
I've been to Lewis, and I've been to Chichester.
Come up London.
Well, I need a reason to come. Mind you, I need time. I spend so much time now as well, sort of like, you know, just going between video calls and that. I don't get time to travel anymore. Isn't that really funny? I spend so many time on video calls. I don't get time to travel anymore, because normally I'd be doing all these face-to-face meetings in London.
Well,
And there must be
turn sooner than you think.
loads of people must be like that, where they would have, yeah, where I'd have had a big meeting up in London, then I'd have like interspersed it with some smaller meetings and had coffees with people, and that life has just gone. I miss it.
Well, I mean, it will come back.
Okay, so what are we doing to get it back? So what we up to?
Well, I think we're doing this the day after I was sorry. So I was writing some Rail Innovation Group with updates yesterday, and I realised that how the year had panned out so far was just a load of cancellations. So we cancelled our startup rail events all the way through the year. We cancelled all our meetups from March through till now. Obviously, we moved online, but now I'm trying to get us back to having some sort of in-person event, whether it's us standing in the street 2 meters apart.
What, in the middle of Soho Square?
Pretty much shouting at each other about how we're going to improve rail. But I think there's an appetite to have some sort of in-person events for those people who want to, so we will try and do something. Micro meets, we're going to call them.
Micro meets. And I'm going to do some nice little goodie bags for them.
Well, also, there's so few people that you can make everyone a cake.
Now, I don't get anyone too excited about this. This will be...
Well, I told people on Twitter, and they said they'd come if you made cake.
I'm going to make brownies.
Oh,
so that everyone will have their own individual brownie in the pack. Right. But I'm going to do really exciting goodie bags, so it'll be worth coming just for my goodie bag.
Right.
But yeah, I've been doing lots of, and there are so many mini alcohol bottles and cans and things that you can get. It's going to be so much fun.
Right. But no plastic.
Doesn't everything come in plastic?
Well, no, but wine comes in glass bottles.
Some of it does, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'll just take the one bottle of wine.
Okay. Right, so sustainability credentials. Well, you're just going to have a big bottle of wine. I was looking at tins of gin and tonic, because I'd quite or tins of Pimm's or something.
Well, it does.
And I was also looking at baby sham.
Oh,
baby sham comes in a bottle.
That does. I have some baby sham glasses. Yeah.
So when we're having our meetup by personal invitation only, because we have to limit our numbers.
We do. September we're hoping for. I'm going to the place today to check out how many people we can safely fit in or safely be outside of the situation.
Oh right. Oh, I see.
Because obviously this needs a lot of preparation. So
it does, yes. So because we want to keep everyone safe.
Yeah, I'm going to stand next to a big fan.
Isn't that just going to blow the virus around? But of course, you've had it.
I have had it and I've recovered, so I'm one
of
those.
So we know we can't catch it from you.
Correct. So you're all good. Yes. What was I going to say? Can't remember. Yes, we're working our strategy about what we're going to do to help our Rail Innovation Group members in the current situation.
So that's something to look forward to. And also, I mean, things are starting to happen again, aren't they? So we've got a few online events coming up, haven't we? With conferences.
Oh, I have to write my speech.
Me too. I've got to do mine as well. So that'll be one of the jobs to finish this week. But I'm really excited about doing an online conference.
Yeah.
Where we're going to be talking. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about passenger numbers, passenger demand. I mean,
so you're going to be talking about one of the projects that we've been working on over the period.
Yes. So the reason I sort of disappeared over this summer is because I have been extremely busy doing a project with you and with Marcus and with some other people who I'm going to convince to join the Rail Innovation Group to find a new system to get basically real-time passenger demand. So I'm not sure if we're allowed to be talking about it or not. Who knows? But basically using people's macro movement data to work out current levels of demand and loading on trains, which will help the COVID response, because then we'll know who's on each train and how many people are on each train. versus the capacity available for the train, which has been very interesting in trying to work out what trains are running on each line to work out what capacity is on each line. You'd
So
think that people knew which trains were running, but they don't. Or that data set isn't available easily.
I think it's interesting that we don't know sort of like some of this stuff. It is really interesting, isn't it? So if people want to find out more, when are you talking next week?
I'm talking on let me just double check my calendar. Tuesday, I think. Yeah, so it was supposed to be in Boston. It's the Smart Transit, and because of that, I'm talking at 7:30 p.m. next Tuesday, the 25th of August.
I know it's disappointing that we didn't go, because that was obviously cancelled. That was one of the events that was cancelled in March, the week before we went into lockdown, and then it was meant to be again in August. And obviously, America's response has been worse than our own response to it. So nobody can go to America ever again at the moment. And so everybody can hear more about that. And I'm going to be doing an updated presentation on mobility as a service. So it's a follow-up from the one we did in Madrid last year,
Yeah.
in terms of now that there's been a seismic change, is now the time for mass, I think, is probably sort of like the topic. And what does it mean? Because
I would be very keen to know how you're going to update it to include the fact that large cities around the world have made cycling so prominent, and how you're going to wrap in cycling as part of mobility as a service. How does
see,
I like
yeah.
cycling my own bike? So how are you wrapping in me cycling to a scheduled form of public transport?
Yeah, I think it is interesting, Mass, isn't it? Because probably, and I think it's interesting that you've brought up about cycling and your own bicycle, because clearly when we gave the presentation last week, I keep calling it last week, but it was only last year. Does that, if I like lost 10 months of my life, we went to Madrid and then nothing else has happened. I think when you factor in other interests, the one thing we said was that Mass is not an app, and that's pretty much where it's focused on. And I think probably what this is shown, when you think about the promotion, going back to that, saying don't travel by public transport, because actually everyone's picked up on the message that not traveling by public transport means car.
Yeah.
But actually, I mean, I've travelled less by public transport even in my local area in Brighton, and I live 4 miles out of the centre. But I've not got in my car to avoid public transport. I'd say 95% of the time.
Yeah.
I've got on my bicycle.
No. So I'd be curious what you're going to integrate. And also, now that we have e-scooter trials or systems or something, we're trying e-scooter.
I like e-scooters.
I love them.
I was in Hamburg this time last year, and it was my first time on a hired e-scooter that I had to go on.
Oh yeah, they're very good.
I thought they were really good fun. I think we should have more of them. I mean, certainly, I think from a mobility point of view, if you can't cycle or you have mobility issues, I think they're really good. Those little, just pick one up, zip along, and they're fantastic. I think they're a really great way of getting people around, and we should have more of it.
Well, especially if, for example, you want to cycle to a station, get on a train, and then you have no guarantee there's any local either cycling or scooter scheme the other end. If you can take one on the train with you, because currently you can't take a bike really that easily. If you can take a scooter, which is small and fold up, that obviously solves that last mile bit at the far end.
And I think that's really where it needs to concentrate on. And I think taking on that international perspective, obviously some countries are better at this than others. Because I don't know whether you've seen in the Netherlands, I can't remember which station it was, they've just opened a new cycle facility, and it is absolutely huge.
Yeah.
And I think it's another 12,000 spaces or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think only Cambridge comes close to in the UK to creating something like that. I mean, like Brighton's got a fantastic bike facility, but it's very underused.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know why it's underused, but it does have a fantastic facility. I use it all the time. If I'm not taking my Brompton, if I'm taking my other road bike with me, I always park in the facility in that, because it's linked to your smart card,
Yeah.
and it's completely secure. It's a fantastic facility, and say nobody uses it. So that's my big thing today, is get back on the trains and take your cycle to Brighton Station, because the facility is brilliant and it's safe.
Okay. Well, I'll let you do that advocacy.
I've done it.
Good. Well, now's the chance. Now is the chance. If the demand has eased off a bit, then for us to work out the optimal way to serve what people want to do to get on a public transport, which includes cycling.
Although Brighton does need to sort out the road access.
Yes, well, I think a lot of places do, and now's the time to do that too. So get on it. Right. What else? Anything else that we've been doing the last 6 months that we should talk about?
Well, we've been doing our Munch and Learns, and we've been doing our survey, and we're going to start pulling all that work together into an autumn report.
Yes, Johanna, I look forward to seeing the first draft, considering you're the one who wanted to do it.
I know. Do you know, it's so fair. I mean, I'm just saying, having all this time in the world, and yet both of us have been busy working.
I know.
So I'm incredibly grateful over this period of uncertainty that I have been working.
Yeah. I found it. I was sort of reformatting the survey output yesterday, and I did find, what was the one that made me smile was, oh yes, is now a good time to introduce new tech or plan new mobility model for the rail public transport industry. And like some people said, maybe, not yes, just maybe. Not sure. Well, now is the key time to do it. I mean, in my opinion, now.
I think it's interesting because because I think people always worry about leaving people behind, and that's why we don't move forward on stuff. We should do a podcast on ticketing and season tickets and things quite quickly, I think, because I want to bring something up from a quote. Because how old do you think the season ticket is?
It's from like 1860 something, isn't it? It was a commuter.
It is, yeah, and it's essentially not.
You committed your money to the operator, and then they carried you.
Yeah, so it's not really changed in format for 150 years. I mean, the type of ticket you might have got, might have changed, from being a paper ticket to an orange ticket, or a smart card or whatever. But it's essentially
tickets. At the start, you were obviously a known person to the conductor on the train. So
yeah,
the ticket, you just knew that and it was a he, just knew that you had commuted.
So there's lots of things within rail that have essentially, and ticketing really is one of them. And you do have to think, if now is not the time to change, when is it? Yeah, and I'm not necessarily talking about the big structural things that need sorting out, and the unpublished Williams review and emergency measures, which will have an impact, but maybe rail does need to take seriously Andrew Haynes and Network Rail's mantra, putting passengers first.
Yeah.
And maybe if they put that at the front of every decision, maybe things would get better quicker.
And when they get passengers on some networks.
I'm sure lots of people would travel. Oh, it started raining. I have to close my window. Would travel, because I think it's a bit like the Eat Out to Help Out scheme, isn't it? And I know sort of like,
Get
they've started out a go out to help out scheme now, and
out to help out.
get out to help out. And
I look forward to my 50% discount on Alton Towers.
50%. But I think it's more radical than that, because I was wondering, and I've not done it. This is why I was saying we should do a podcast. Let's do some research and do a podcast on this, because I was thinking, right, so if you book a ticket, if you are under 30, if you have a disability, if you're older, if you're in the armed forces, if you travel together, have they got an over 50 rail card now or something? I'm not too sure, but there is about 40 rail cards, that all give you 33% discount on off-peak travel. Okay. Or I think that but the disabled one is slightly different, isn't it? It gives you different discounts, but they all sort of like give you varying discounts. Plus you've got all these plus you've got a whole load of operators that work on yield management, and they don't just have the walk up fares, they have advanced purchase and all this. And if you were to average all of that out, and do away with rail cards and that, and do away with peak and off peak travel, and just have fares that met the needs, would you actually get a better system, and would that help recovery? And it does go back to the mobility as a service and account-based ticketing and all of that stuff. But
you mean just give around a third off tickets?
Yeah.
Right. Well, that might.
If you just do away with rail cards and make it all cheaper. Or is it a time to look at what they do in places like Germany, where you actually buy a ticket for the whole country or your area, and it's valid for everything anytime you want to travel except the fast services, and you pay a supplement if you want to travel on the fast services.
Right.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? If now is not the time to be radical, regardless of whether it's technology or not, just doing something different to recover.
Well, I look forward to your paper again.
I will do it. I'm going on holiday in 10 days' time, so it'll be something for my holidays.
Right, on your long train journeys to nowhere. Please write that, and then
I will go on a train to Newcastle, because I have to go on a train to Newcastle. I can't drive, because it's not so much the driving there; it's the driving back that's the problem.
Drunk.
Yes.
Well, don't drink, drive. Therefore, you have
precisely.
Right. We're clear there. Right. Okay. Well, I think that's good for now. And what is to look forward to? Our speaking next week, and then normal life.
How do people register for the speaking next week? It's through Railway Gazette.
Yes, it is Smart Transit. You can just Google it.
Google it. Do you want to put a link out when you send this out to the?
Well, it's Hear Us Speak.
Yes.
Okay, no pressure.
People might be interested in hearing what we have to say.
They do, and I'm sure it'll be posted afterwards anyway.
I'm sure.
All right, I am going to go now.
Okay. Good speaking to you. I know we speak all the time, but good to speak on railway stuff.
Get into the topic. All right, I will see you later, and we'll do another podcast soon.
Bye.